In the quaint town of Oakhaven lived a boy named Oliver Twist. Unlike other kids his age, Oliver had an unusual fascination with pencils. He'd spend hours sharpening them, admiring their scent, and even collecting the shavings. His mother often teased him, saying he'd end up marrying a pencil if he wasn't careful. Little did she know that one day her son would indeed wed a pencil, but not in the way she imagined. It all began when Oliver found an antique pencil in the attic of their home. The pencil was wrapped in a faded velvet pouch, and when he unwrapped it, the pencil seemed to glow with a soft, ethereal light. As soon as he held it in his hand, he felt a strange tingle, like static electricity, but somehow warmer and more vibrant. Then, incredibly, the pencil started moving on its own, gliding across the page, leaving behind perfect sketches of things Oliver had never seen before. His first drawing was of a massive flood engulfing Oakhaven, wiping out the town and leaving only a few buildings standing amidst the wreckage. Startled by the accuracy of the drawing, Oliver tried to dismiss it as a mere coincidence. Yet over the next few days, the pencil continued to draw, producing images of disasters befalling the town. It sketched a fire that consumed the local schoolhouse, an earthquake that cracked the pavement and toppled chimneys, and even a tornado that looked as if it could rip apart the very fabric of Oakhaven. Each time Oliver looked at the drawings, he felt a growing sense of dread. He couldn't shake off the feeling that these weren't just pictures. They were warnings, predictions of what was to come. What was this pencil, and why was it showing him these terrible events? As days turned into weeks, the townspeople began to experience the events depicted in the drawings. First, a heavy rainstorm caused the river to overflow, flooding the streets and homes. Next, a discarded cigarette butt ignited some dry leaves, which quickly spread to the schoolhouse, turning it into a fiery inferno. Then, without warning, the ground trembled beneath their feet as an earthquake shook Oakhaven, causing several houses to collapse. With each disaster that came true, Oliver's anxiety grew. He understood now that the pencil wasn't just a mystical artifact, it was a harbinger of doom, a seer of the future. And the worst was yet to come, for the pencil had drawn a tornado, one that threatened to lay waste to the entire town. Desperation gnawed at him. How could he prevent the catastrophe foretold by the pencil? The answer came to him in a dream. He was shown a small cottage nestled deep in the Whispering Woods, inhabited by an old woman who was said to possess wisdom beyond measure. People often sought her out for help with their problems, and it was rumored that she had the ability to see into the future. Upon waking, Oliver knew exactly what he had to do. He had to find the old woman in the woods and seek her help in understanding the pencil and averting the disaster it had drawn. With newfound determination, Oliver set out for the Whispering Woods. He pushed aside the thick undergrowth, the air growing cooler and damper as he ventured deeper into the forest. Soon, he spotted a small clearing, and in the center stood a quaint cottage just as he had seen in his dream. Taking a deep breath, Oliver approached the house. As he knocked on the door, a feeling of tranquility washed over him, a stark contrast to the turmoil he'd experienced since the pencil's arrival. The door creaked open, and there stood a woman with twinkling eyes and a warm smile. Her wrinkled face was a roadmap of time, each line and crease telling a story of years gone by. He explained everything to her, how the pencil had been appearing in his dreams, showing him terrifying visions of Oakhaven's impending destruction. The old woman listened patiently, her gaze never wavering from his. When he finished, she remained silent for a moment, lost in thought. Then she beckoned for him to sit down, her eyes filled with wisdom and understanding. Finally, she spoke. You have indeed found the right place, child. This pencil is no ordinary writing instrument. It is a conduit between the realms of reality and premonition, a seer that glimpses into the threads of fate. Her voice echoed with an ancient power that seemed to resonate within Oliver's very bones. But why me? Oliver asked, his voice barely a whisper. Why have you sent me here? The old woman's gaze intensified. You are the chosen one, Oliver. You possess a purity of heart and a clarity of purpose that makes you the only one capable of wielding the pencil's power and averting the disasters it foretells. Oliver felt a surge of responsibility, but also a deep sense of unease. How could he, a simple country boy, be expected to control a force that could shape the very destiny of his town? Overcoming his apprehension, Oliver asked, how can I stop the disasters? The old woman reached out, her touch surprisingly strong and reassuring. You must learn to listen to the pencil, child, not just hear it, but feel its whispers, understand its language. She handed him a warm leather-bound book. This will help you decipher its drawings and uncover the hidden meanings. As Oliver delved into the ancient text, the old woman continued, each drawing is a puzzle, a riddle that holds a key to preventing the disaster. You must pay close attention to every detail, for it is in the smallest nuances that the solutions lie. Now armed with knowledge and purpose, Oliver returned to Oakhaven. He felt a renewed sense of responsibility, driven by the hope that he could protect his town from the disasters foretold by the pencil. Each morning he awoke before sunrise, eager to see what the pencil would draw that day and decipher the message it held. The first drawing he saw was of the flooded river, but upon closer inspection, he noticed something he hadn't seen before. Amidst the swirling waters, he could make out the image of a small dam nestled at the river's bend. Suddenly, it dawned on him that the real solution lay not in preventing the flood, but in diverting its path. By strengthening the dam, he could ensure that the water flowed safely through Oakhaven. And so he rallied the townspeople to reinforce the aging structure, working tirelessly until it stood firm against the raging river. When the floodwaters eventually rose, Oakhaven stood firm. No longer was the town ravaged by the deluge. Instead, the river flowed gently, nourishing the fields and replenishing the town's reservoir. With each passing day, Oliver successfully navigated the pencil's prophecies, finding solutions that averted disasters. When the pencil drew the fire at the schoolhouse, he remembered that that particular day was the anniversary of the town's annual fire drill. By organizing the townspeople into teams to conduct the drill that day, he was able to extinguish any potential flames that might have arisen. When the earthquake struck, he used the pencil's drawing to identify the weakest structures in Oakhaven, focusing the town's efforts on reinforcing those buildings. However, the final test proved to be the most challenging. The tornado that the pencil had drawn loomed ever closer, threatening to engulf Oakhaven in its fury. Despite his best efforts, Oliver couldn't find a way to prevent it. Just as despair began to set in, he noticed something subtle in the drawing. A small group of trees that seemed out of place. They were a type of tree that only grew in a remote part of the Whispering Woods. A sudden realization dawned on him. He rushed to the old woman in the woods, who revealed that the trees in the drawing were ancient oaks known for their immense strength and resistance to storms. By planting these trees in a circular formation around Oakhaven, Oliver could create a protective barrier that would shield the town from the tornado's wrath. With the townspeople's help, he planted the saplings in a tight circle around Oakhaven, anchoring them firmly in the ground. Then they all huddled together in the center of the formation as the tornado approached. The wind howled, but the ancient oaks stood firm, protecting Oakhaven and its people. In the aftermath, as the townspeople surveyed the damage, they realized that the tornado had been weakened significantly by the oak trees. Although some structures had been damaged, the destruction could have been much worse. And as Oliver looked out over the resilient town, he knew he had succeeded. He had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. From that day forward, Oliver continued to use a pencil's wisdom, not to predict disasters, but as a guide to making positive changes in Oakhaven. The once ordinary pencil became a cherished companion, a symbol of hope and resilience. And so the legend of Oliver Twist, the boy who married a pencil, continued to be told in Oakhaven, reminding the townspeople that even in the face of adversity they could find strength, wisdom, and courage within themselves and the bonds of their community.